Good morning from Seoul, South Korea, and good afternoon to everyone else. I'm Nancy Pappas. I'm the art director at Cherry Bombe, and I welcome everyone to another Julia Jubilee event, where we've been celebrating the life and legacy of Julia Child. We've kicked off last week with Stanley Tucci and Ina Garten. We've walked through Julia's kitchen with Paula J. Johnson and Priya Krishna, and we've watched demos like Zoe Francois' Baked Alaska demo. Thanks again to San Pellegrino for supporting Cherry Bombe and this Julia Jubilee event. We have free programming thanks to all our amazing sponsors. So tonight, I am especially excited to welcome all of the female winners of Top Chef. It's pretty incredible. They're all here, and I've watched Top Chef, I think, since season 4 with my older sister, and I have to say the seasons where the women have won are my favorite. I mean, of course. To get started, I'd like to introduce our moderator, Nilou Motamed. She's the former editor-in-chief of Food and Wine, and you'll recognize her as a reoccurring judge on Top Chef. Hi, Nilou. Thank you so much for being here. And honestly, I'm just like stoked to meet all of you guys and, actually hear your voice on, unfortunately it's not in person, but.
I'm going to come to Seoul right away, ASAP.
Please, I will take all of you guys around and eat at all the best places. So coming up, we have Stephanie Izard. She's executive chef of 4 Chicago restaurants, Girl and the Goat, Little Goat, Duck Duck Goat, and Cabra, and the forthcoming Girl and the Goat in LA. She was the season 4 winner and the first woman to win Top Chef, the first season I watched. We also have Kristen Kish. Congrats to you and Bianca on your marriage. Kristen is the executive chef at her Austin restaurant, Arlo Gray, and she was the season 10 winner. We have Mei Lin. She has this amazing new product called Bombe. Love the name. And it's small batch XO sauce. And she was the winner of season 12. Okay, so Brooke Williamson, how to narrow her down. She's the youngest female chef to ever cook at the James Beard House and currently owns and operates several restaurants with her husband in LA, including Playa Provision. She was the season 14 winner. We have Kelsey Barnard Clark. She stays busy with KBC, a local market, eatery, and catering business, and has a new cookbook coming out called Southern Grit, coming out in August. And she was the season 16 winner. And then finally, we have Melissa King. She's currently in San Francisco, and where she runs her own company, focusing on partnerships and culinary experiences. And she's our most recent season 17 winner. And I love that season. So now I'll pass the baton over to Nilou. You guys, I'm so thankful that you guys are here. I really can't believe we have all the female winner chefs, because I mean, how can we celebrate Cherry Bombe better, with all of you guys here. So with that, I'll see you guys at the end and wrap up.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you so much to everyone at Cherry Bombe. Thank you to Carrie. And I can't even believe you ladies. I mean, it is too much. I'm looking at all of you and just totally fangirling. I know that there are so many people joining us who are such big fans of the show and such big fans of all of your talents. And I just want to say, before I do anything, I'm going to toast all of you, because you are epically talented and exquisite in every single way. You guys are all going to drink Pellegrino. I'm going to drink orange wine. Cheers to you. Cheers to everyone who's coming in. So I think the first thing I want to do, and I kind of want to do a speed round with you, is, so Julia kind of changed food TV. For 10 seasons, the French Chef was on. And during that time, it really revolutionized how women were thought of as sort of much more than sort of behind the scenes, but in front of the camera. And I think it also weaned an entire generation on the idea of boeuf bourguignon and this is just an excuse for me to use French, and canard à l'orange and every kind of flaming souffle you can imagine. Fast forward, and we're in the 18th season of Top Chef, and Top Chef has, in fact, done maybe even more for women, and the idea that it's not just women, but we're actually impacting how any young person sees themselves and has the opportunity to grow as a chef. So my first question in the speed round would be, did you watch TV growing up, and what did you watch? I'm going to start going chronologically through the season. So I'm going to start with Stephanie. Were you weaned on Julia Child or something else?
Yeah, Julia Child and Yan Can Cook, which I think this all was on TV before these guys were even watching TV. But that's okay. Yan Can Cook is the
I
best.
watched it.
Sorry.
I totally watched it.
I totally watched it too.
Same here.
So good. And I got to meet him and it was amazing. I love it. He's so great.
Okay, that's incredible. And okay, now what about Kristen?
So Julia came much later on in my life, as like a early 20s, but I grew up watching at 5 and 6 years old, Great Chefs of the World on Discovery Channel.
A good one.
And what were you drawn to? Was it the global aspect?
You know, I think it was like the earliest signs of ASMR or something, because all I could do was zero in on like what it sounded like to cook and what it looked like with the movements and the sound. And that's how I learned how to cook, ultimately, was by watching the process.
Oh, that's okay. So that's super interesting. Mei, you cooked with your family young, right? You grew up cooking in your parents' restaurant, or at least being there, I'm sure, after school all the time. Was there some TV watching too?
Yeah, I think, my earliest memories of watching TV, we were only allowed to watch PBS. So definitely Jacques and Julia was always on my screen on Saturday mornings, as well as Yan Can Cook. So those were like the two shows that I grew up watching 1000%.
I see. Melissa is just really into Yan. Yan is really
Love Yan.
fueling her
Yan
fire.
Yan was my idol when I was a kid, because there was no one that was Asian on television cooking. And then Julia as well. There was no other woman that was on TV doing that. So to echo everyone else, I was watching PBS. I did not watch, cartoons, and I just had Jacques and Julia on in the background all the time. My mom will confirm that.
Your mom, I have such a crush on your mom. So I haven't forgotten about you, Brooke, but it is really interesting, the idea. So I'm Iranian, and I grew up in Iran and then moved to France, didn't speak a word of French. And I learned to speak French from translating the recipes in real time on French cooking shows for my mom, so she could make like crêpe Suzette or whatever. And it's amazing to me what we're drawn to, right? Like you can be drawn to watching, I don't know, Bob Ross, or you can be drawn to watching Yan Can Cook, and that's really where you're going to head. Brooke, were you a Bob Ross girl, or were you?
I for sure was a Bob Ross girl. I was also a Galloping Gourmet girl. I watched, I too didn't watch cartoons unless it was like the Smurfs or Gem and the Holograms. Those were kind of the two cartoons that I watched as a kid. But aside from that, I watched cooking shows every Saturday morning. I watched PBS. I watched Julia. I grew up watching Julia. Julia and Jacques and the Galloping Gourmet were like my go-tos on the weekends. And I would watch TV for like a solid 4 hours in the morning, and then I'd go in the kitchen and I'd experiment with stuff in the kitchen. And this was starting at the age of like probably 6 or 7.
So I also want to know, like, did you start cooking? So 6 or 7 is when you as a kid were starting to look around and be like, I think I can do something with this.
Yeah, and I remember we had a Betty Crocker cook. My parents slept late; they were like night owls, and they slept late. And I would wake up in the morning and I would go experiment like with pancake recipes. I'd go, pick fruit outside and put different fruits in my pancakes. Very, very young. And then I actually realized that Julia Child and I shared a birthday, and then I felt like I was destined to be her eventually.
Twinned at an early age with Julia.
August 15th.
Does your son also cook now?
He does. He just mastered the French omelet, and he's very proud of himself because he only uses chopsticks as his tools. And I'm very proud of him. He makes a much better omelet than I do.
Wow. Okay. That I feel like Top Chef Junior has some contestants coming their way. Kelsey, you've got 2 little ones. So are they watching food TV?
They watch me a lot. Let me just put it that way. So I do a lot of cooking classes virtually now, and Monroe has made himself my permanent sous chef, whether I like it or not. He's in there. He's incredibly infatuated with food, and he's 3. And I just think that was definitely the way. There was never a time I wasn't just enthralled by the art of making food. I'll never forget. Very young. I had to have been 5 or 6. I mean, as early as I can remember. My sister and I were watching a Disney movie, and she said, something about how she loved their dresses. And I was like, I don't even know what color the dresses were, but did you see the food they were making? And that was just how I always thought from a very young age. So anything I watched, I was obsessed with any females on TV. I was obsessed with Oprah. Anyone in a leading role who was female on TV, I was really into. And now, yeah, I watched a ton of cooking shows. If anyone was cooking on TV, I was watching it.
Since you mentioned Oprah, I'm just going to throw it out to Mei. How did that happen? It's a complete left field question, but I figure since we've got somebody who's connected to Oprah, we might as well ask.
Well, one of my former chefs, he used to be his or her personal chef. And so whenever they would have events, he would call me up, since I lived in LA and they're up in Montecito. And it just became this permanent thing. And I just drove up all the time, and I would go, out of town with them and cook for them while my chef was on vacation. So that's just kind of how that happened. And Melissa's come with me before to do a few.
Dragged me in there.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was an amazing experience.
I mean,
What does O like to eat? Like, I need a little more juice, and then I'm gonna find out what Stephanie's cat is doing down there
Truffles?
with the
A lot of
truffles.
A lot of truffles, but she's definitely not afraid of trying new things, which I love about her. She's so adventurous and the nicest person ever. What you see on TV is how she is in real life. So I really love that.
That's
awesome.
I love hearing that. I love hearing that. Stephanie, I'm coming back to you because I feel like as I've said to you, you're the OG. You are the first female winner of Top Chef very early on. Your season was 2008, right?
I know. I was 30 years old. Now I'll be 45.
See, I told you I was older than you. Oh,
but it's crazy just listening. I was season 4, and now just listening to all the seasons, and I of course watch as much as I can, but it's always, we all work a lot and have things going on, so it's always hard to catch all of them. But how many seasons it's gone on and just continues to be as popular, if not growing in popularity over time. It's pretty amazing.
Well, when you won, you won't maybe remember this quote, but you said to people that, I'm going to read it because I love it. You said, "My life is about to change. This is what I'm meant to do." Do you think that, first of all, Top Chef changed your life? And do you think that it set you on the path that you have now, basically an empire, a mini wonderful empire?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think in the beginning, I didn't want to credit everything to Top Chef, not in any negative way. It was just sort of like, hey, I had a restaurant before, and now I just have another restaurant. But I remember the day after I won, after that episode aired, I looked on my Facebook and it just started blowing up. And this is a long time ago, you guys. So there wasn't even Instagram. That's how long ago it was. And I turned off my Facebook. I was like, oh my gosh, all these people want to be my friend. I don't even know what to do, because I didn't realize, that it's so important to actually embrace that. Now everybody kind of gets that. But it did. I mean, it of course changed my life. It started Girl on the Go, and now I'm opening my 7th restaurant probably later this year. And it's life just keeps going. And it's like this roller coaster ride that started with the just getting on the show and all the momentum that comes with it, and sort of the eyes that get to be on you that never would have, I mean, who knows where my career would have been without it. And I often think about that. I don't know if you guys think about that, how different would it be if you had just continued on your chef path without the show? And I'm sure we all would have still done amazing things, but it kind of jolts it and sends it into different directions and gives you so many opportunities, whether it's opening restaurants or, doing some modeling stuff. I didn't get that offer, but getting to do all these
that's a dig at
things.
Melissa, maybe.
No, I'm kidding. Only because you were talking about it, but it highlights your things that are about your cooking talent, as well as all these other talents that it pulls out of you. Everybody doing different live things and other TV appearances and working with brands and all these really cool, we all get to do such cool things and meet amazing people along the way and sort of have these really unique lives, thanks to something that maybe at the time you don't even realize how it's going to change so much.
So at the time, I want to go back a little bit, because I think you make a good point. In 2008 feels like not that long ago, but also in terms of media years, it's been forever. So it's before Instagram, it's in the nascent days even of competition shows on TV. And so when you decided to sign up for the show, obviously there had been previous winners and you had seen how their careers had been impacted, but were you reticent to put your life on hold in the way that you did?
I had a strange story where I opened my first restaurant when I was 27, and I had literally just sold it to someone, and was ready to just go travel around Europe and like find myself or something. And Top Chef happened to call me at my restaurant and asked me if I wanted to go on the show. And I was like, I don't know how that all happened. And I'm like very fortunate, but so I didn't even really think about it. I didn't want to go on TV in front of millions of people. It scared the crap out of me, but I was like, hey, everything happens for a reason. This timing is like so perfect. And so I figured I just couldn't pass it up. And, obviously very happy that I didn't, and I'm a sore loser, so it all worked out really well. But
thank God.
Yeah. Thank God. I get upset when I lose Monopoly. It's terrible.
Yeah,
I'm sure we're all very competitive.
So we're really all pleased. We're all very pleased that you won. Kristen, what about you? So, I mean, you had now seen that Stephanie had won, and you're season 10. So you were in 2012. And what was your impetus to get on the show? Were you feeling like you could see the trajectory and that was interesting to you?
Oh no, please. I did not have enough self-awareness or self-worth to understand that there's something bigger that I was capable of doing. So because I wasn't able to see that in myself, my mentor, Barbara Lynch, who I think we all know is this female, amazing, badass force, she literally came back from guest chefing on Paul's season where he won on season 9 and was like, hey, they asked me about, some female chefs and I gave them your name. I said, okay, like, sure. And so she was like, I think it's really important that you go on there. We need more women on TV, and you're basically going, your job will be here when you come back. And that's
an amazing opportunity. Yeah. The idea of knowing that you have that security.
Well, I mean, she was saying, go do this thing. I believe in you. I'm proud of you. You can do this, whether you come back winning or not, it doesn't matter. I support you and you're going to have your job back. So why not go do it? And so she basically pushed me outside of my comfort zone and said, it's time now, because again, not having the worth and the trajectory to see it for myself, that I could be something more than what I was. She was able to see that. And so she really kind of gave me the swift kick in the butt there.
So first of all, I feel like that's amazing, because I think a lot of you guys would say that there haven't been a ton of female mentors who have been able to guide you, especially early on in your careers. So yay for Barbara on that. But I do wonder how you get on national television and then get kicked off and then have the gumption to come back and then kick someone else's ass and win. Brooke, I'm looking at you.
I was like, who are you talking to? There's a couple of us.
Yeah, no, I'm still with Kristen. I know there's a couple of people who've come back, but I think that Kristen, since I have you, and you're talking about the idea of self-worth, I do think it is worth us spending a little time on that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, television is never anything that I foresaw my future to be growing up. Working in kitchens, performance was, and not that this is performance, but like just being in front of a camera was never something that I had any interest of doing. And it was sort of the farthest thing from what I thought my job entailed. And when I was approached by Top Chef, my instinct was to say, absolutely not. There's no way that I would be good at competing in front of cameras. I have terrible stage fright. And I still do. I think the first time they called me, I was like 4 months pregnant and kind of passed on the opportunity. And then I was opening a restaurant the second time, opening another restaurant the third time. And I finally decided to do it. And I was like, you know what, how bad could this be? And it was such an incredible experience. It ended up being something that opened so many doors for me and got, like Stephanie said, I kind of didn't want to credit Top Chef for all that I had become because I had worked so hard for so many years. But there's no denying what Top Chef does for your career. And then when I was asked to come back, I was like, well, literally I can't do better than I did last time unless I win. And that was a lot of pressure to put on myself. And I immediately said no. And then the person who was asking me to do it was like, just give it a minute, give it some thought. And then I stewed with it for a little while, and then the thoughts wouldn't go away. And I kind of just, I was like, you know what, if I had been like this last time, like half of my my life would have gone in such a different direction. And I'm so happy with the way that it did go, that I was like, I gained a lot from that first time, that I felt like, what's the harm in doing it again?
I mean, the idea, I'm blown away. So the idea, you compete against Kristen comes back, and in the competition ends up, ends up beating you. And then you do so obviously so well, Brooke, but then you come back and win, and then now go on to win other competitions too, against other incredibly talented chefs. And so for somebody who has stage fright, what's your secret?
My secret, working with my hands. Strangely, the only time that I'm really comfortable, really in life, is when I'm in the kitchen working with my hands and creating with food. And somehow, when that is the case, all of that fear and anxiety sort of dissolves. Me sitting here talking to you, knowing that there are like over 1,000 people watching us right now, my heart is pounding. Like it terrifies me. Getting on a stage and talking in front of, even 20 people terrifies me. But somehow when I'm doing a demo, when I'm doing something that feels like I'm in my natural element, the only thing that I focus on is the task at hand.
I love that, because it's truly your passion. I want to go back to Kristen for a second and just touch on just the same feeling, this feeling of not really deserving the attention. How did you get past that to crush it? And how do you continue to do that? Because I want that lesson. I want to have, we all have a lot of doubts. We all go into a lot of situations feeling like we got there by a fluke, and we maybe don't deserve to be where we are. And maybe it was a mistake. How do you get past that?
I personally don't. I think for me, all the things that I work on and have dealt with and try to figure out about who I am, and the things I guess that are imperfect, right? And 99.9% of them about myself are imperfect, is that it's not about trying to fix it. It's about trying to like coexist with that feeling. And so I'm not trying to make that feeling go away. I'm not trying to fix it to think differently. All I'm doing is trying to coexist with those feelings and myself whenever they come up. So it's about teaching yourself the mechanisms, I guess, of how to handle a thought, or when imposter syndrome kicks in, or when you're like, oh my God, the other shoe is going to drop any moment now, and what am I going to do? And when those feelings come up, because they are inevitable for every single one of us, regardless of if we're on TV or not. My next door neighbor, I'm sure, has the same feelings, but it's about how to learn how to manage them and understand that it is part of who we are, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing.
I love that. I think that that's really valuable for every single one of us, TV or not. I want to get to you because I feel like you had an interesting mentor in Michael Voltaggio, who obviously was very successful on the show. Was that part of the reason why you decided to compete?
Yes and no.
Tell me both things.
Well, I never really wanted to do it. Just, I guess, in a sense, go on TV. But he always just kind of joked around on the line, just like, hey, you're gonna do Top Chef, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, I don't want to do TV. But how it kind of started was he had signed me up to do Knife Fight, which was Elon Hall's show on Esquire. And literally 2 days before, he was like, hey, you're gonna do Knife Fight like in 2 days. And I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, no. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm like, you're joking. And he was like, no, you're gonna do it and you're gonna crush it. I'm like, okay, so you're not joking. Great. I'm gonna do this show. I have no idea what I'm doing. Literally, I'm just trying to not make an ass out of myself on national television. And yeah, that's just kind of how that started. And when the opportunity of season 12 of Top Chef came around, his publicist at the time had kind of signed me up to do the show, or just to kind of sign me up to do the interview. And I had gone in for the interview, didn't think anything of it, didn't think I was going to get a call back, and it kind of just got the ball rolling. And I told Michael, and he was very supportive, and the rest is history.
The rest is history. So actually, I think I'm going to take a pause here and ask you. I've never been in one of those interviews. I've never been in a casting for Top Chef. I actually have no idea what the process is for you guys getting chosen. So Mei, give me like a snapshot. What does that feel like? You go into a room, it's one person, it's 5 people. They make you cook something. They just ask you questions.
I think everybody's interview process is a little bit different. My experience, my first interview was along with 3 other people. We had just gone into, it was at a hotel, and we went in, just kind of asked us some broad questions. Have you done any food TV? Have you done this? Have you done that? Just kind of answer. And then, they'll ask for another interview and another one. But I do have to say that when I went into a boardroom filled with like 20 Bravo execs, I totally bombed that interview because I had no idea what I was in for. And I mean, I thought I was going into a room with maybe 5 people, but there was a long table of like literally 15 to 20 people in front of me. And I just had no idea what to do, what to say. And yeah, was
I mean, you may not have bombed it because you actually end up on the show and then you end up winning it. So, I mean, I feel like maybe that's
it's funny because I did bomb it, and one of the execs had come into dinner at Inc., and I ended up cooking for her, and I think that's how I ended up getting on the show.
I think it's all about the cooking. Kelsey, what about you? Do you remember what it was like to do your sort of casting calls?
And what Mei said, the casting for every single individual is wildly different. Like just with my season alone, every one of us had a different situation on how we got on the show. For me personally, I actually was asked to be on the season before that Joe Flem won. So they had literally, I had like 6 Facebook messages. I don't really check my Facebook messages, like 3 emails, 5 voicemails. And I looked at my phone. I was like, what is happening? And they had asked me they essentially had, I guess, just like found me. And she was like, can you fly out here to LA tomorrow for a final interview? We're going to skip the whole process for Top Chef. I'm like, excuse me, who are you? Also, I'm pregnant, so I can't. So that was when I was pregnant the first time. And I literally I was like, I can do this pregnant. Sure, whatever. I cook pregnant all the time. I mean, whatever.
I cook pregnant all the time.
And she was like, no, we'll catch you on the next season. So they did. And it was the same thing. I literally had a few conversations and then flew out for the final interview. And it's the worst. That you walk in, y'all, it's like being sent to the principal's office. You're like, I thought it was just one of you. I thought it was like the casting director I've been talking to the whole time. Mm-hmm. And you walk in and they're like this. No smiles, no like, welcome, hey. And they just are like attacking you with these really serious questions. And I remember one point I was like, if I throw up, is it going to be weird? I just need to know. Let's just get this out there. And it's also like you sitting in the middle of the room with like all around you. So you're kind of like, who do I look at? I don't know what's happening.
They're just like lined up.
Yeah.
And there's like, one hot seat. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I mean, I guess that prepares you a tiny bit for judges table. I mean, maybe that's a little bit of like just a little baby version of what it's like when Tom and Padma and Gail, et cetera, get looking at you.
That was, to me, honestly, that was worse than anything. Because once you get on Top Chef and you start cooking, like you're nervous, at least in my experience. I was nervous thinking about the challenges, but then once it got going, I was like, whatever, I'm cooking. We're in a kitchen. I'm cooking, you're just doing what you do. It's the thinking, it's the mind game of it that really is the game.
Can I talk about your baby though? Can we talk about, because you had the baby and then he was little and you left him during the competition. And I think that Speaking of the mind game, it felt to me like that was really weighing on you, the idea of sort of the duality of being a mom and having a career and wanting to pursue it.
Oh, I mean, it was horrible. It was truly just, looking back, that would not be a difficult decision now. Now I've got motherhood under my belt a few years. I was a brand new mom, didn't know nothing. I was 28. I just was clueless about everything. Also, not nearly as confident in my position in my career as I am today. With that just comes with age. That's it. And I still have moments, but I'm actually really thankful for that, because the part about Top Chef, I think that in my experience, and I don't like to speak for other people, but what you don't see about the show is how much the show is almost like a mentorship. All the uplifting conversations you have with the judges, all of the side chats and side hugs and side motivational, they want you to be better. And so for me, I found that pretty profound as a woman, as a female, as a new mother. There were several conversations that Padma had with me of stop feeling guilty about having a career.
Kelsey,
And I do not any longer.
When you hadn't decided yet if you even wanted to leave or do the show because of that. And Kelsey reached out to me, I think via Instagram or something, and we had a couple of conversations before you even came to the decision that you were going to do it.
Yeah, I reached out I Instagrammed her. Brooke was kind enough to respond and then call me, and we talked on the phone for an hour. And Brooke was a big part of my kind of final decision of I can do this. I mean, mind you, I had several panic attacks getting on that plane and getting there, but the hardest part was just getting there truly, and once the competition started, I mean, there were definitely some rough spots, but, and I think that whether you're a mother or whatever, I think all of us had a guilt. I don't know if this is a female thing, because we're very nurturing as in nature and very thoughtful, but guilt for leaving your business and making your employees have to work more, guilt for, abandoning the things that you take care of for 8 weeks, all of those things that it was a lot. I'd never left. I had a restaurant and I had never relinquished that much control in my life, where it was all right, y'all got to figure this out. So in so many ways, it was a beautiful experience, because you grow by learning to give up that control, for sure. I've realized.
And I think you give a gift to every single woman who's watching, every single one of you, for whatever decisions that you made and the vulnerabilities that you showed. You allow someone else to say, well, if you can do it, then I can do it. And so, Melissa, that brings me to you. I was lucky enough to be there when you won, and your mama was just beaming. What has Top Chef meant for you? And by the way, let's just pause and realize that you won Top Chef in the middle of a pandemic.
On TV.
On TV. Yeah, no, yeah. So I mean, but
it was through the pandemic. Yeah.
Your coming out as a winner of Top Chef was during a time where, not the, let's say, the ideal time, but maybe it was. I want to know.
I mean, I guess bringing it back to your question earlier of, why did I apply, and did I ever want to be on TV? The answer was no, not at all. I have also extreme stage fright, and public speaking terrified me. The thought of cameras in my face, the whole thing. I just wanted to be in a kitchen, put my head down. I thought my life would be, one day I'll own a restaurant and I'll be happy with that. And so my life was very singular until going on the show. And that was something that actually friends kind of just threw the application onto my, pushed it in my face. And they're like, you're applying for Top Chef. And I think the application sat on my desk for 2 years. And I was like, I'm not doing this show. And I have zero interest in it. But then once I did it and went through the motions of the interview process, which was excruciating. It was 3 months of back-to-back interviews. But that whole process, I started to learn a lot about myself, and I started to feel more confident every day with, okay, maybe I can do this. And it terrifies me. And every step along the way, I have butterflies, but I'm learning something about myself. And so I got on to season 12, flew out, was terrified the whole way through. And even throughout that season competing, you learn so much, like Kelsey said, you learn so much about yourself as a chef through all the mentorship and the feedback, and even cooking with other chefs around you, like with Mei. And so that experience taught me a lot about not just myself as a chef, but me as a person. And I really blossomed into my confidence. I found my voice in food. I kind of discovered this whole other side. And coming off of that first season, I remember getting messages from just like people out there on DMs saying, hey, I'm Asian, I'm gay, and I want to come out to my parents, but I'm not sure how, but I saw you on Top Chef and now I want to do it. And so I think hearing these stories was what really kept me going and made me feel, you know what, like Top Chef's calling me to come back on All Stars. I'm gonna say yes. I think I remember feeling a little scared again. I saw the phone light up and it said, the producer's name, and I'm like, oh God, what do they want? Like, leave me alone. I was already stressed out enough the first time, but the second time around, it was, I really felt I had to do it for my community and for myself. It was no longer about my friends and my family like pushing me or pressuring me to do something. So it was a really different experience the second time around, and I'm so proud of myself for doing it.
I'm very proud of you. I think what you're saying rings so true to me. I think we have all evolved in our thinking about what we do as something that we do to please others. Mm-hmm. And then I think there's a moment where it clicks in how important it is to do something that feels like it nurtures you as well. And eating your food that season, I felt like you were really speaking your truth via these dishes that you were serving. And I think the way that you were intermingling where you were in Italy with your Asian background, I think was just really breathtaking. So do you feel like a role, I guess, as a role model now because you are representing, as you said, your community?
I feel everyone on this screen is, whether we want to or not, because we made the decision to go on TV. And I can't speak for the rest of you, but for me, I feel there is that sense of responsibility to continue to use my voice, to continue to speak out, whether it's through social media or participating in events like this. I do think it is a responsibility to continue doing that.
Yeah. Stephanie, I'm coming back to you because you have been doing this the longest. What do you see as the impact that seeing someone like you winning Top Chef, seeing someone like you being an entrepreneur? I think it's really also interesting to kind of harken back to what Melissa said. Back in the day when you all went to culinary school, the goal was you come out, you are a cook in the kitchen. Like even Brooke said, I'm just happiest when I'm cooking. And now it's being, a business owner, being an entrepreneur, being a spokesperson, in the list, being a Gap supermodel, the list expands and expands and expands. And I don't know if necessarily, Stephanie, when you started and you had your one restaurant, you were prepared or anyone told you or anyone guided you. So do you feel like you have this role as spirit animal for everyone else now?
Yeah. I think it's amazing to be able to, for me, I never know what's going to be coming up next. And I'm just kind of like along for the ride just as much as people that maybe follow what it is I'm doing. Add to it just being a mom. And I think listening to other moms on this sort of talking about that, it is this, I waited until I was 40 to have Ernie. So I had so much going on in my career already until I had Ernie, who's almost 5. And it's amazing. It's just sort of, and taking him now along for the ride with me, coming out to California to open a restaurant. But I think over the last year, I've learned even more about the responsibilities as chefs, as people with voices, how important it is to speak up, to speak out for different communities, to do what we can by not just raising money, but also just using our voices to share ideas, to listen, to just participate. And I think it's something that a lot of people that probably follow us on Instagram bring to our attention, or are excited to kind of join in the conversation with us along the way, along our career. And so it's just really amazing to see. And I think not necessarily feeling a responsibility, but feeling very proud to be a mentor for young women or just women that even work in my restaurants, being able to show them that can you do it all and have like really work-life balance? I mean, let's be real, it's really challenging. But you can like try to do it all, and you can do all sorts of things and sort of take opportunities. And I never analyze situations as much as maybe some people do, and maybe I should analyze them more before jumping onto them. I just kind of go for it all the time, and it's kind of a fun and stressful and unique way to live. But hopefully that inspires people to take a lot of risks and take chances and not be afraid. That's what I would hope for others, is just kind of like everybody here is doing all these really cool things. I love following and seeing what everybody's up to and just being like, oh, that's awesome. Like you do that. Like it's just great to see.
Mei, you for a while before you settled into the amazing restaurants that you have in LA, did pop-ups. What was the reason why you were sort of drawn to traveling and to exploring? Did you feel like you weren't quite ready to kind of anchor down?
I can definitely say that if I had opened up a restaurant right after Top Chef, it would have been a huge fail. I think I needed, like me personally, I needed the time to kind of go and explore the world a little bit and kind of see what's out there before I kind of settle down and have this baby. I don't know. I still have that travel bug, and I think for a lot of us, traveling, seeing the world, experiencing the cultures, and just eating the different food inspires us to cook a lot better, but also just drives us to be better. So I really took those years and just kind of did like a bunch of events. Melissa and I cooked a bunch together as well, and just kind of traveled all over just because we had the opportunity of doing that coming right off of the show.
Do you feel like you, now that there's been a pandemic for the last year, what do you feel like you have? Where's the ball of energy that you get from traveling? How are you getting that inspiration right now?
I think it's
that's for Mei, continuing for Mei. Sorry, I just wanted to follow up with that because we're all travelers. We're all like deeply enthusiastic about enriching ourselves. How do you enrich yourself when you don't have access to that input?
I think it's just talking to fellow chefs and really just helping each other out in this time of need, but also just talking to a lot of different other people and inspiring others to cook in this difficult time, because everybody needs to nourish themselves, and we all need a little bit of uplifting. So just teaching other people to cook and making basic things at home and really just providing comfort.
Comfort. Oh my gosh, that's such a good word. Comfort is what we all found, I think, in it's amazing to me during this time how we all, between the making of the bread and the taking classes from all of you, and following everyone on Instagram, how the soulfulness of food has been so important to all of us. And Brooke, I want to talk to you about that amazing thing that happened with your restaurant where people were paying it forward on the checks. Can you talk about that in case anyone has not been following this?
Oh my God, it was incredible. Someone placed an order and wrote a little note one day through our website. And through our website, you can write little personalized messages. Basically, it's for saying leave the sauce off, or I have a nut allergy, modifiers like you would normally see in a restaurant. And I think I posted a picture one day of this note that came in and said, you guys are doing such a great job. And honestly, in my entire career, this last year has been so trying in so many ways for so many people. But this last year, I've worked really hard, harder than I've worked in a very long time. And just in my one restaurant that I have left. And notes like that just really meant the world to not only myself, but the entire kitchen, who was working really hard. and still are. And so I posted this picture on Instagram, and suddenly, maybe the next day, someone placed an order from Texas. A couple placed an order and put in the modifier, "We won't be picking this order up. Please donate it to a frontline worker or anyone that you feel like might need it, including maybe a staff member." And I was so blown away by this sort of grand gesture of just kindness. I took a picture of that and I posted it on Instagram. And within a couple of hours, suddenly hundreds of orders started pouring in from not only all over the country, but within the next couple of days, sorry, my dog just fell off the couch. All over the world, there were orders coming in from Africa, from China, from literally everywhere you could imagine, and just kind, warm messages of, "I won't be picking this order up. Please donate it to anyone who you feel like might need it." And it enabled us to put together orders for not only our staff, but for local hospitals, our local fire department. We fed several times during the week. It was just, I think it was just this really beautiful gesture that turned into this viral thing that really made me feel like people out there were really struggling to, or craving to be part of something bigger and more thoughtful in their lives. And it was something that I could have never anticipated or imagined. I've never seen anything like it, really.
I think that, oh my gosh, that it made me so emotional watching those it's sort of in real time, but then for you to talk about how big a phenomenon it became is really incredible. I think this last year, we all deserve a big hand, especially you guys, the talented, incredibly hardworking people who feed people, who run restaurants, who have to pay to make sure that their staff are able to subsist. I know, Kelsey, you were able to use your PPP money to reopen after a really hard time with your catering business. How has it been going recently?
Yeah, most of us here own a restaurant, and it was just so unforeseen. I mean, you plan for things, you save for things like the oven going out, the hood going, all these things, but you don't plan for pandemics, and you don't ever, who would have ever thought that a pandemic would last this long and cause us to stay closed for this long and lose So I think it was absolutely, I am not a person who, contrary to popular belief based on Top Chef, I'm typically not a person who cries. And it's the first time as an owner in my life that I truly had it just was the hardest thing to go in front of my whole staff and just say, "I'm sorry, I cannot employ y'all anymore." And it's, I think what people don't understand about owning restaurants is it's such a soulful job. It is such a, it's not just a job when you're a chef. It's not something that we just go to work, time clock, walk out the door. It's a very passionate driven career, especially when you are leading the kitchen and you're in charge of so many people's lives. So closing the restaurant, I said to my staff, "I will stay open as long as you all want me to, and we'll do the takeout." And after 2 weeks, they came to me and said, "This just is so depressing and so unfulfilling. We'd rather just close and get unemployment." And that was one of the absolute hardest things of my career. And luckily, we were able to get the loan reopen. Of course, we all lost money, but I'll never forget during that few weeks period, we luckily were not closed that long, but I just remember thinking to myself, I will never complain about owning this restaurant again. Those words will never come out of my mouth. I will never, ever, ever say it, because I missed it tremendously in the time it was down, and realized how much the restaurant was just, we just talked about earlier, what did you do to stay inspired during the pandemic? Mm-hmm. That place was what I found inspiring. Being around those people and feeling the responsibility for the first time, truly, I woke up and said, like, "Oh my gosh, wow, I'm responsible for people's lives, whether I know it or not. I'm responsible for them paying their bills and getting to buy uniforms for their kids' school, all those things. I never realized how big of a responsibility I had until now. So now I have this just tremendous responsibility again to make sure these people stay employed, make as much money as they can, and to do what I can to make them successful. That's truly my number one thought on a day-to-day basis. Is my new question I ask the staff when they say, well, what do you want to do? I always tell them, well, what do you want to do? Start with that and let's have a conversation.
Kristen, I'm going to ask you, just taking straight from Kelsey, now that the pandemic has happened, what do you want to do? You just got hitched? You're in love.
There's been a lot. I mean, I gotta mirror what Kelsey was saying, and honestly, the day that we had to shut down, and you have to look at everyone in the face, and I walked away from that conversation and just, emotions that I had no idea were in me, they just came flooding out. And with that being said, when you look back on it and why, as we move forward now, yes, there's more projects happening and there's books and TV stuff working and all this thing, like at the core of what it is and the heart of where I like to place the most value on is not the things I'm doing that are me, right? It's the stuff that are for like my team. It's my restaurant. Right. It is those people that are choosing to come to work for you, that chose to came back after being shut down for 8 months, that chose to come back at maybe a lower wage because they're like, chef, we just want to be here again. Like that is the thing that just drives everything else. So yes, like host a couple more TV shows means busier restaurant, means more money for the restaurant, means potential more money for people. So like everything you do, you always have the restaurant and those people kind of as that driving force, because you got to keep that alive, because otherwise really for me, like the rest of it is more self-fulfilling, you know what I mean? And that holds less value than the restaurant does to me.
You guys haven't been able to see the comments that are pouring in. There's just I can't even express to you the kind of love that people have for you, the kind of gratitude people are expressing for you guys being so honest and candid and generous with your sort of truth. I want to ask you guys, I think there's no way for me to get through all these questions and they're so amazing, but I'm going to ask you across the board a quickie speed round. Why do you think Top Chef has had such a lasting influence? I'm going to start with you, Melissa.
I would say they do it's not just a competition, or it's not just a cooking competition. It actually is a show that just tells the stories of the people behind the cooking. And so I think as a viewer, people just, they're obsessed with getting to know each of us on this screen. And so I think it's the diversity, it's the representation that this show carries and continues to carry through each season that I feel proud of when it comes to Top Chef.
Mei, what do you think?
Well, I think it's because Top Chef is purely based on merit. There's definitely an emphasis on personalities and what makes good TV, but I think at the end of the day, it's actually just the actual competition and the emphasis on the cooking. There aren't a lot of professional chefs out there, but watching some of the most countries talented compete is kind of like watching sports in a sense. But in the same way,
but better.
Yeah, but better for sure. More entertaining, I think. But yeah, if they've been on TV for so long, it's because of the show's ability to make it just fun and interesting, and it's definitely a sport for sure.
Kelsey, what do you think? Why is Top Chef still crushing it after all these years?
I think it's the same reason people love the Olympics. Everyone loves to watch the Olympics. It's the diversity. It is, you learn about just normal people. We are normal people with an incredibly interesting career probably work really weird hours as well. So I think that's what it boils down to, is the relatability there, where we are just the working class that has really worked hard to get where we are. That's how we got where we are. So I think that's something that's always been very attractive to me about the show. And it is all about merit. I think that their standards have been clear from day one, what the caliber is of who comes on the show and who wins the show. And it's always been that. And then last but not least, they do such a wonderful job of pulling at heartstrings, getting our stories out there, making us cry. So you got that entertaining factor there as well. But I think at the end of the day, the relatability of us all, because we are just normal working class people that have done whatever we can to get to the top, like most people are doing in the world. And I think that's just something that people really love to watch.
I mean, I think just regular normal people who can make exquisite food in 30 minutes. But yes. Kristen, what do you say?
I agree with what everyone has already said. I will ditto everything that Mei said. I think that there is a standard and an expectation, and then there's the continuation of making sure that happens year after year after year, and nothing fluctuates from that. And I also think it's something that kind of we all go in, everyone that goes in is a relative underdog on day one, right? So you get to watch the personal growth of where it comes to be, and you get to cheer that person along, or the people that you gravitate towards the most. And I think always cheering for an underdog, which again, we all are going into the show, that's always an exciting thing.
The producers do a really nice job of in the editing of maintaining that sort of level playing field. So there's a lot of opportunity to root for a lot of different underdogs, sort of all at the same time. Okay, we have kitties, we have dogs. Stephanie, what do you say?
My house has gone wild. My son just like walked in the door with the dog and everything went crazy. But I think it's over the years, having come from like so many years ago, it's the community that's been created around the show. So at first when I was on, I met all the people that were on season 1, 2, and 3. And then I was like, oh my gosh, you guys are my new friends. And now it's like all of you guys, and whether I think I've met most everyone, but when you see another person that you were on the show with, they're like automatically your sort of friend, like you're in this weird fraternity or something because you all know the craziness of being on Top Chef, but not just for us, a community, but like the people that watch the show get to kind of like see us on Instagram, go to all of our restaurants. It just like creates this whole little fun world for people that are excited about it. And I think that that's what's going to keep it going and keeps people excited for every new season that's coming out.
And Brooke,
like the
what
Marvel
do you say?
universe.
Oh, well, it's like Comic-Con for foodies.
Like superheroes. Yeah.
I mean, once you guys get costumes and leotards, it's really going to go crazy. Yeah.
It is. I have to agree with all of those things. And I the relatability and the stories that Top Chef finds a way to tell that are so true and honest. And I think that also to sort of add on to that, I think it's very much the relationship that we all have with each other. And I think people understand that it's real, and that these aren't manufactured friendships. Some of the most incredible friendships that I have in my life stemmed from Top Chef, and I think that people see that, and people understand and kind of want to be a part of that, and they can be, they can sort of root for there's someone that someone watching identifies with on every season, right? You can watch, and I think that also has to do with representation as well. And I think that as someone watching the show, you can find someone that you relate to in every season. And I feel like it's so real, and it's so honest, and it's so raw, and it is based on talent and food, and all of those things are so beautifully showcased.
I could talk to you ladies all day, every day. Oh my gosh, look at
Listen,
that.
I love that answer.
Oh, that's so good. It's so good. It gives me the warm fuzzies just talking to you. And I feel like I wish that you could see all the love that's pouring in from these questions. People are losing their mind. I feel like we've decided that food superheroes should become maybe like a comic book. I see Nancy has popped back up, which means that maybe we're out of time. Although maybe, do we have time for another question or no, Nancy?
I will ask the final question, which I love, from an audience.
He's taking control.
I'm gonna, try out my moderator skills here. Nilou, please stay on screen. Okay, so
yeah,
Nilou,
no, I'm just gonna be here fangirling.
just hang out.
Totally
Just hang
fine.
out.
Yeah.
That's what I've been doing the whole time. You guys, that was incredible. My mind's kind of blown. So we'll wrap with one final question from an audience member, Chelsea Lancaster. What would you serve to Julia if she was on the judges panel? And Nilou, you can answer as well. We'll start with Stephanie. We'll go through from the first to the last. Sorry,
This is the hard question.
This is the hardest question. I was not trying to stump them. Well done, Chelsea. Chelsea wins.
I mean, it's tricky. I guess I'm half French, but I always tend to, when I'm cooking French food, I always add in some, Asian flair, because I just have I could drink fish sauce, all the umami, all the different flavors, all the spices, all of the chilies, all these different things. It would probably be like taking something classic French and sort of just showing the way that I like to eat at home, some comfort food, but then just the way that I like to eat it at home.
We'll go on
That's
to
a hard
Kristen.
You know what? I'm gonna go with the answer. If another famous chef wanted to cook for me, I'd say just make me chicken fingers. It's my favorite food. That's all I love. Chicken fingers. Give me some French fries, chicken fingers, ranch dressing. Throw a bottle of bourbon and tequila on the table, and we are good to go. So
I want to be invited to that party.
Me too.
Yeah, it's a good party.
Mei Lin?
I don't know. Congee is definitely the way to go.
Yeah, comfort.
Just a warm, comforting bowl of rice porridge for sure. Probably maybe add some smoked duck.
Yeah.
Brooke?
I have always had the same answer for this question, and it's something that's been asked to me several times. And I would want to celebrate my birthday with Julia with a chocolate souffle and a glass of champagne.
Ooh, I love that.
I like that. Kelsey?
Gumbo. I cook, all of my training is French. I cook French, part French, but I'm obviously from the South, and Cajun food is French food as well. And again, I think what I would really want is to just hear her talk in that voice and just be like, oh, this is delicious. And I just think that soup is like a hug, there's just anything hot and warm in a bowl, and throw tons of fresh crab in there and seafood. And it's rich, and it's just such a great, comfortable dish. And I just feel and you get your hands dirty and you're eating crab and you're cracking. And so I would love to watch her eat it is the best. That's why I would cook it. I just want to watch her eat it. Yeah, definitely.
And Melissa?
I would do Hainan chicken and rice. It's just really comforting, soulful. Every culture has a chicken and rice dish, but that's, what I grew up eating. And you got that scallion relish on top. I think she'd like it. Yeah. And if not, if we're going to do something more interactive, I'd make her do a hot pot experience with me.
Yeah.
And sit down and be a part of it.
I like that. I like that.
That's
Wait,
good.
can I go? I'm not even a chef, but can I go? Okay.
Nilou, you have to.
I'm a little overexcited about this because I feel like Julia missed out on the crunchy rice on the Persian tahdig phenomenon that's been happening. So I feel like I would make her Persian tahdig, and then I'd have her flip it, and invariably it might fall on the ground, and then she'd pick it up and be like, it's okay. And I think that the idea that we're all talking about, it's funny, as a judge, sometimes on Top Chef, what we really love is when the chefs actually really harken back to their traditions and show us that. And I think it is interesting how we're all basically saying the same thing. We just want to feed someone the things that we love and to share with them our culture, and break bread with them the way that kind of to the simplest, even though every single person here can make exquisite food. The point is, I want to make you the food that makes me feel comfortable. And I feel like every single one of these ladies has excelled in so many different ways, but they excel the most for me as being really lovely humans. I'm so lucky to be in their company anytime, all the time.
Oh, me too. Me too. Those were all great answers. I'm starving because it's breakfast time for me right now. I wish I could stay and talk to you guys forever because you guys are all my, a huge fan. So, but with that, we'll have to say goodbye. And on behalf of Cherry Bombe and the Bombe Squad, we are just thrilled to have you guys here. So thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. That was awesome.
Thank you.
So
Thanks for
fun.
having us. Ernie wanted to say hi and bye.
Hi, Ernie. Hi.
Monroe,
Oh my God.
in my window.
Future chef.
Guys, I will do a little last minute stuff. Thank you again. Again, I really couldn't have asked for a better panel to introduce because everyone, had incredible, thoughtful answers. The representation is so important to me and for so many other people. So thank you for joining. So some last minute things. We have the incredible Julia issue out right now. So pick it up if you have it. It's incredible. Anyway, thank you, San Pellegrino, for sponsoring this event. Without them, like I said, we wouldn't be able to have the free programming throughout Julia Jubilee. And with that, please head over to cherrybombe.com and check out our schedule because we have a couple more days of some amazing events. And thank you so much. I'll talk to you guys soon.